The silent goodbye. I remember the day clearly. The sun was bright and the air was warm. Birds sang in the trees and the wind moved the leaves. It was a peaceful morning, but my heart felt heavy. I sat on the porch drinking my tea. My hands were not steady and my thoughts were not calm. My daughter had told me something big. She said she wanted to get married. I looked at the garden. The flowers were blooming, just like when she was a child. I could still see her running there, laughing and playing. She was my little girl, but now she was grown. She stood in front of me with bright eyes, full of hope. She was happy, but I was not ready. I took a deep breath. "Are you sure?" I asked her. She smiled and nodded. "Yes, Dad, I love him. I want to be with him." Her voice was soft but firm. She was not a little girl anymore. She had made her choice. I knew this day would come, but I did not expect it so soon. I wanted to tell her many things. I wanted to say how much I loved her. I wanted to remind her of the days we spent together. I wanted to hold her hand like I did when she was small, but I only nodded. "Okay," I said. My voice was quiet. She hugged me, and I felt her warmth. When she left the room, I sat alone for a long time. The house was silent. The walls held so many memories. I looked at the family pictures on the wall. There she was, a baby in my arms, then a little girl holding my hand, then a young woman smiling in her school uniform. And now she was ready to leave. The tea in my cup was cold. The sun had moved in the sky. The day was the same, but everything had changed. I felt something deep inside. It was not just sadness. It was something more. I was happy for her, but I was also alone. My little girl was not mine anymore. That evening I sat in my chair, looking at the empty seat across from me. It used to be hers. Every night, she sat there talking about her day. She told me about school, her friends, and her dreams. I listened, smiled, and gave her advice. But now the seat was empty. The house felt bigger, and the silence felt louder. I walked to her old room. The door was open, but the room was not the same. The bed was made, and the shelves were clean. Many of her things were gone. I sat on the bed and looked around. Her childhood was here. The little books, the old toys, the pictures on the wall. I touched the desk where she once did her homework. Everything felt like a memory. Now I closed my eyes and saw her as a child. She used to sit on this bed, holding her teddy bear. She would ask me to tell her a story before sleep. "Just one more, Dad," she always said, and I always told her one more. But time moves fast. One day she stopped asking for stories. One day she became a young woman, and now she was ready to leave. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the street lights were on. People walked by, talking and laughing. Life was moving forward. I knew I should be happy. She was in love. She had found someone special. That was a good thing. But in my heart, I felt a deep loneliness, a kind of emptiness I had never felt before. I went back to the living room and sat down. The clock on the wall ticked slowly. I thought about my own father. Many years ago, I was the one who left home. I was young, excited, and ready for life. My father stood at the door, watching me go. Did he feel like this too? Did he sit in silence, missing me? I never asked him. Now I understood what he must have felt. The phone rang, breaking the quiet. It was my daughter. "Dad, are you okay?" she asked. I took a deep breath and smiled. "Yes, my dear, I'm okay," I said. My voice was steady, but my heart was full of emotions. "I just wanted to hear your voice," she said softly. I closed my eyes and held the phone close. "I love you," I told her. "I love you too, Dad," she replied. The days passed, but the feeling in my heart did not change. The house was quiet, and my mind was full of memories. I tried to keep myself busy. I cleaned the kitchen, watered the plants, and walked in the garden. But everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of her: the swing in the yard where she used to play, the bookshelf with her favorite stories, the door with small marks showing how tall she had grown each year. One afternoon, I sat in the living room holding an old photo album. I turned the pages slowly. There she was as a baby, wrapped in a soft blanket. Then a little girl with messy hair, smiling at the camera, a teenager standing proudly in her school uniform. Each picture told a story, a moment in time that I wished I could visit again. I remembered the first time she rode a bicycle. She fell many times, but she did not give up. "I can do it, Dad," she said with bright eyes. And she did. That was who she was. Strong, determined, and full of life. Now she was ready to start a new journey, and I knew I had to let her go. That evening, I went for a walk in the neighborhood. The streets were busy with families, children laughing, and friends talking. I passed by the school where I used to drop her off every morning. I could still see her waving at me before running inside. Those small moments, so simple at the time, now felt like treasures. I stopped by a small cafe and sat by the window. A father and his young daughter sat at a table nearby. She was telling him a story, waving her hands with excitement. He listened, smiling at her every word. I smiled too. I knew that feeling. I had lived that moment many times, and now another father was living it. Time moved forward and life continued. When I returned home, I felt different. The sadness was still there, but it was not as heavy. I sat on the porch and looked at the sky. The stars were shining, just as they always had. My daughter was not a child anymore, but she was happy, and that was all that mattered. I took a deep breath and whispered to myself, "She will always be my little girl." A few weeks passed, and I slowly got used to the quiet. Mornings were the hardest. I used to wake up to the sound of her footsteps, rushing to get ready for the day. Now there was only silence. I made my coffee and sat by the window, watching the world outside. People walked to work, children rode their bicycles, and life continued as usual. But for me, something felt different. One afternoon, I decided to visit an old friend. He was a father like me, and his children had also grown up and moved away. We sat in his backyard, drinking tea and talking about the past. "It feels strange, doesn't it?" he spoke. "One day they're little, holding our hands. The next they are grown, starting their own lives." I nodded. He understood what I was feeling. We talked about the times when our children were young, the school plays, the late night fevers, the bedtime stories. Back then we were always tired, he said with a laugh. But now I miss those days. I smile because I felt the same way. We spent hours remembering the past, sharing stories only fathers could understand. That evening, I walked home with a lighter heart. I realized something important. I was not alone in this feeling. Many parents went through the same thing. It was a part of life, a part of love. I thought about my daughter. She was not a child anymore, but she was still my daughter. That would never change. When I reached home, I saw a letter on the table. It was from her. I opened it carefully and began to read. Dad, I know things feel different now, but I want you to know that I will always be your daughter. No matter where I go, no matter how far, you are always in my heart. My eyes filled with tears. Her words were simple, but they meant everything to me. I held the letter close and sat down. In that moment, I understood something. Love does not disappear with distance. It grows, it changes, but it never fades. My daughter had a new life now, but she had not forgotten me, and that was enough. I smiled to myself and whispered, she will always be my little girl. After reading her letter, I sat in my quiet room. I felt a mix of pain and hope. I looked at the letter again and reread each word. Her words were warm and kind. I held the paper close to my heart. I knew that she was happy and free to start a new life. I went to my room and looked at old photos. I saw her as a little girl and as a young woman. The photos made me smile and cry at the same time. I remembered her laughter and bright eyes. The memories filled my heart with both joy and sorrow. I felt proud of the life she had made for herself. I took a slow walk in the park near my home. The park was calm and full of green trees and soft grass. I saw children playing and old men talking on benches. I sat down on a stone bench and thought of my daughter. I wished I could see her smile again in person. I felt both a gentle sadness and a quiet hope. Later that day, I visited the old family house. The house still held the sound of our past laughter and gentle words. I walked through each room slowly and touched the worn furniture. The walls seemed to whisper old stories of love and care. I remembered all the good days we had together. The house was a silent keeper of my cherished memories. I called an old friend to share my thoughts. My friend listened carefully and spoke in a kind, soft voice. He told me that change is a natural part of life. We talked about the past and the new days that lay ahead. His words were simple and full of understanding. I felt that I was not alone in this new journey. In the evening, I sat by the window and looked at the clear night sky. The stars shone gently and the moon was bright. I thought of my daughter far away, but always in my heart. I took a pen and wrote a few simple lines in my notebook. Every word was filled with love and hope. I kept those lines as a reminder of our bond. I remember my own youth and the kind words of my father. He told me to be strong and to follow my heart. I thought of his advice as I faced a change in my life. I learned that time moves on, and that love grows in many forms. My heart held lessons from the past and dreams for the future. I felt a deep connection to both. I decided to write a letter to my daughter in return. I chose very simple words that said, "I love you" many times. I told her that I was proud of her and wished her endless happiness. Each sentence was clear and true, just as my feelings were. I sealed the letter with care and a quiet prayer. I hoped my words would reach her heart. As the night grew deep, I felt a calm peace come over me. I understood that my daughter would always be my little girl, no matter how far she roamed. The future was bright with both joy and change. I looked at the moon and whispered a silent prayer of love. In that quiet moment, I promised to always hold her in my heart. Days turned into weeks, and life slowly found its rhythm again. I still miss my daughter, but the pain was softer. Now I learned to enjoy the quiet moments, to appreciate the memories without sadness. Every morning, I made my coffee and sat by the window, watching the world go by. The world had not stopped, and neither had I. One day I received a phone call. It was her. Her voice was warm and full of life. She told me about her new home, her new routine, and all the little things that made her happy. I listened carefully, smiling as she spoke. She laughed, and for a moment it felt like she was right there with me. She asked about me, too. She wanted to know if I was doing well, if I was happy. I told her the truth. I was learning to live with the change, learning to find joy in new ways. She was happy to hear that, and I could feel her love through the phone. After the call, I sat for a long time thinking. I realized that love is not measured by distance. It is not about how often we see each other, but how deeply we stay connected. My daughter was far away, but she was still close in my heart. That would never change. I started writing letters to her, even when there was no special reason. I filled them with small stories, thoughts, and simple reminders that I loved her. She always replied, sometimes with long letters, sometimes with just a few words. But every word mattered. One afternoon, I went back to the park. The sun was warm, and the trees swayed gently in the breeze. I saw a father playing with his little girl. She ran to him, laughing, and he lifted her into the air. I smiled, remembering when my daughter was that small. Time had passed, but love had remained. As the seasons changed, so did I. I found new ways to spend my days, new things to enjoy. But my daughter was always a part of me. She had her own life now, and I had mine. But we were still connected by something unbreakable. That night, I looked at the stars and felt a deep peace in my heart. Life was always changing, always moving forward. But love, true love, never faded. It only grew stronger and deeper with time. Thank you all for your time and attention today. I hope you found the lecture insightful. Take care, and I look forward to our next session.